First of all, I would like to say how extremely grateful I am to be able to participate with you in this research. I'm happy that I was one of the people selected to participate in it. Secondly, I would also like to say that despite the disappointment that we had in obtaining the visa so that we could be physically with you, this technology has made it possible for us to participate. What we would like to do is to present what we would have talked about if we had come in 3 parts. There will be a general introduction. We will talk about the 2 case studies that were mentioned, and finally, part 3 will be the design brief that we have selected for your participation and possible assistance in this area. So to begin with, I want to give you a general overview, starting with an introduction of myself. My name's Gamaliel Mugombia. I'm the Associate Professor and Dean of the School of Industrial Art and Design at Kampala University. I'm 68 years old, and I am one of the pioneers of design education in East Africa and in Uganda as such. We were enrolled in the Department of Design in 1969 at the then Royal Technical College of the University of East Africa in Nairobi. And the department actually started in 1968, and there were 2 programs. One was graphic design, and the second one was product design. We are the pioneers of product design in 1969, and there were 5 of us who graduated in 1972. Our biggest challenge at that time was to actually understand exactly what design is and whether we could give it a definition or a description at least. We understood that most of the design schools have developed either from art schools or they have developed from schools of architecture, or they have developed from schools of industrial arts, or some people what they have called the craft schools. So those are the 3 major areas. In our special case, the Department of Design was part of the Faculty of Architecture, Design and Land Development. So it was more developed around architecture. The land development was about land economics, and it was also building economics. So that is the kind of background. Personally, after my graduation in 1972, I then proceeded to the Academy for Industrial Design in Eindhoven in Holland, where I concentrated mainly on ceramics, industrial ceramics, as well as exhibitions and furniture design. And then from there, I proceeded to the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I ended up specializing in the field of textile design, but my special interest was in weaving. And after that, coming back, I was mostly employed in Kenya, where I have worked in several universities, but mainly University of Nairobi, where I was a student, and the Kenyatta University, where I was heading the textiles section. And I have participated in the development of weaving in Kenya, and we have come up with several products, especially in the textile field.
Talking about the definition and understanding of what we mean by design, I would say it was quite a big challenge for us. The majority of the people, the lecturers that we had an art background, some of them from our Makerere University School of Art. So I don't want to make this one for too long, so I would like to just summarize it by saying, first of all, I do appreciate, and I would like to say, you have chosen a very important topic to talk about. It is very appropriate for us, and I'm looking forward to our further participation and also assisting us. I don't want to forget to mention that our collaboration with your university is going to be an eye-opener, not only to Kampala University, but for Uganda as such, so that we can come to understand exactly what the role of design is. The design schools, the design department has not been given the importance, the emphasis, and the investment that it truly deserves. We are looking forward to opening up our mindset, our attitudes, and to start also creating the proper priorities if we are seriously thinking about sustainable development in the future, be it in terms of social and economic terms. Just before I totally end up this conclusion, I thought it would be nice to share with you the experience of one of our graduates. I didn't tell you that Kampala University started in 1999, and at our present campus, we moved there in 2001. And this is one of our first graduates who graduated in 2003. I was just wondering whether we did give him the necessary background that would make him a designer that would like to see with a good philosophical foundation in my way of thinking, rather than creating yet another copycat who is just translating and copying other people's ideas, which truly would go down as academic plagiarism. We don't normally want to talk about it in terms of designs, and we make fashions, and we have a tendency of always bringing back other people's ideas in terms of fashions, and we are actually not developing our creativity to the full. And let me also lastly also say this: we have to be very careful with the way we are using our computers at the moment. Much as they improve on our speed, let us not forget they have inbuilt other people's ideas, and there is a tendency that we might once again become the modern copycats. I thank you very much, and let me introduce Jonathan Kazoomba so that he can say something in conclusion to this part.
My name is Jonathan Kazoomba, a former student of Kampala University, looking at industrial art and design. That was the course that I took there. Through my journey, I have been able to experience many things, but I have to observe that my background, especially in Kampala University, formulated a lot of what I was able to go on and figure out as I went along. My inspiration and also my desire has always been to be a car designer. So there has been a lot that I had to take time to look at and focus on to realize my passion. And it all started in Kampala University. As I went on after graduating in 2003 from Kampala University, I was given an offer to carry on doing a small time to lecture briefly, that is at Kampala University, just to support the lecturing team there. After that, I was given an option to carry on some of my design work. That was out in Italy. There's an Italian engineering group that looked carefully at developing an idea of a car. That was inspired especially by African art and also design. My experience in the development of a vehicle together with engineers coming from Italy and also design leads coming from Italy was very inspiring. Understanding more of the foundation that I realized, that was from Kampala University to that time, that there was a lot of understanding in research and a lot of referencing. That was a big requirement. The process of coming up with a vehicle started off with having all stakeholders come together, bring out all the requirements and also the specifications of actually what we wanted to do. It being an electrical vehicle made it very interesting because it doesn't have an engine. And the major thing is this: space was an interesting thing to consider. Another thing also that we wanted to test was the opportunity of developing using new materials, new techniques, and new ways of manufacturing, which had not really been done, especially in our region, that is in the East African space. With that, looking at the industrial design, I was given the opportunity to be a flag bearer in that aspect, to take on all the development of the visual aspects, exterior and interior, to make it pleasing and, more importantly, to allow it to function at the same time. There is a sample of works that define this process that I will show on the screen as follows. What we do is we look carefully at having a name that we can follow, a name that would actually be more of an opportunity to own the project and also to tell a story. We tell a story based upon, for example, what we're looking at. In this particular case, we're looking at a bird here on the screen, and it's from this bird that we can actually relate a lot from the design work and how it evolves. We start off with the inspiration. In this case, a weaver bird. From the weaver bird, we can tell a lot of how it actually moves, how it actually does its things, how it actually builds its nest. But more importantly, we can actually draw a lot from its structure, from its shapes, from its colors, from its lines. This would be more on the creative side of design. On the technical side of design, it would be more of what platform are we going to use, where things are meant to be, what structure is actually going to hold up the roof, what space and volume is available for, be it batteries or tires, or actually how this vehicle will be. The creative side, which I would be looking at in the industrial design space, is looking carefully at our core form of inspiration, which in case you'd see one section being a mood board and the other section looking at the development coming from a mood board. Now, as we kind of look at this particular weaver bird, it does have a lot of shapes, colors, lines, and these are the things that I would be best expressing, especially on our product. As we go forward, the tools also to be used in most cases are, no doubt, most of the case we do use sketching 100% as our initial phase, but we also do use 3D modeling, and it in a sketching environment so that we can model out the forms and keep on editing these forms so that we can come up with a unique design. This particular proposal tries to envision a future of, indeed, transportation system we call a rapid transport system, which allows us to have not only the effective means of moving from one space to another, be it for mass transport, but more importantly, having it also decorate the urban environment from, no doubt, the main cities all the way to particular connecting towns. And this was a proposal for 2025 envisioning of an environment in the East African city as it develops. With that, these other images that are being described are works that I was part of in companies and also different projects that I'd worked on. It just shows the process that has been used. They are iterative sketching and also trying to bring out different types of ideas. These ideas are based upon the briefs that are given to us in the way of if it is going to be a seating system, if it's going to be a steering system. All of these require design evolution in one way or another. Now this image tries to define more of what we call a speed form and also a core concept. This concept is more advanced, not as functional, but very, very open to observing what possibilities are there in the future. These are usually used in order that you could envision different directions as to which you could go one time, probably in the future, and to give as many options as possible for development of a product. Here are some design ideas that were used for a vehicle that we were developing here in Uganda, Kira EV. As it's electric, as it takes on a two-seat profile, all you just have to do is figure out the placement of components and then sketch over to make sure that you can get all the proportions correct. Source of inspiration in this case was a waterfall, and it's from there that everything actually draws its inspiration. And as we carry on in this case, this is more of brand development. From the cars that have been developed before, it's always important to realize mass production also demands continuation and also continuous improvement in all ways. So concepts are always developed in order to see where the company can go and how far. And those others are to describe the evolution of how a company and its image, especially branding, have been part and are parts and parcel of the product development process. The main thing that I have learned is realizing that one has to research and research a lot. Opportunities for research has become much, it's like it has become bigger. It has even become easier because of the advent of the internet. And more importantly, you do have the demand to realize that invention still exists and how best innovation has been able to take all that invention that has been there and be able to keep on adapting. With the experience that I've seen and the opportunities that I've been able to observe, I would wish for those doing design and industrial design here in Uganda and in East Africa to see the opportunity of the internet, see the opportunity of realizing how technology is evolving and how it is impacting the way that we create, the way that we design. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward for your collaboration and also development with us in this walk towards developing industrial design on the continent.
We would like, in this second part of our presentation, we would like to present to you the two case studies that we have made. In the previous presentation, we brought to you one of our students who has gone on to the other extreme. I would say maybe car design, maybe something that would sound in the ears of some of the Ugandans to be something outside of our realm of participation. But I'm happy that one of our students has been able to go in that line as well. Let me just mention that the International Bank of Reconstruction and Development in the 1960s, when it was talking about the future economic development of Uganda, pointed out that Uganda lacked a strong craft and design base on which to found and develop its economic development. And like I mentioned before, the idea is that design is key to the economic development. So in this presentation now, we want to go on a much more local level and introduce, first of all, a lady, a colleague of ours who is also lecturing at Kyambogo University, and she has been interested at developing the jewelry at a craft level and working with the local people, and she will be presenting some of the work that she has been doing and also passing on her knowledge to the women groups. Then in the second case, we shall be looking at the local manufacturer, so to speak, who developed from just an ordinary blacksmith, and then they are struggling to develop particularly equipment that can be used in the country. I must dare say that perhaps the idea of design is yet to be well established in their organization, but at least they are trying.
Namuwonge Jenny, Cheyune, Mrs. I'm a lecturer, Kyambogo University, lecturing in multimedia crafts. I'm a teacher, a trainer of children with learning disabilities, and I also train women and also work with them in the community. Without hesitation, I'll take you through the methodologies that I use when working with these different categories of people. I'll start with students of Kyambogo University, whom I lecture in multimedia crafts. You realize that before you start on any designing, you have to start with research, knowing what is there on the market, knowing the designs, the materials, and the methods of working in terms of measurements. That is, the technical drawing has to be put in place so that they can start working. So they now work on the prototype. So that is about the students. Now we look at the ladies that I take through the trainings and the students with learning disabilities. So these people in the community, still they use the materials, recyclable and natural materials. That is, we look at the environment. We always express our environment is very, very important. The groups and the children with disabilities, we can't take them through the process of developing the design, but what we do, we work with them and show them what to do. We have different products that we make, body ornaments, which have the jewelry, which jewelry includes the bracelets, bangles, necklaces, earpins, or necklace, or earrings. You have desk organizers, dry flower vases, table and wall decorations. Those are basically the products that I work with the people in the community. But with the students, it's a range of them. It depends on what you as a student you feel you want to take forward, you want to start with. As we've prior seen, the student who presented the motor vehicles. So they take their own directions with time. Materials used, it's a range of them. Those are the materials that we use. Process of making product and finishing, which include decoration. So we have different materials, which I have down here, old magazines, and the process is as follows. You cut the paper in a rectangular or a triangular strip, roll them and glue them, and then you make a bead. We have the different products that we make, which you'll be seeing later on slides, that is paper beaded necklaces and other products. Those are some of the products. Yes. Making jewelry using natural materials. So we are looking at the seeds. Those are some of the materials. We have seed pods, gourds, and calabashes. We take them through a process of picking the material, cleaning it, making sure it's dried thoroughly well, then shaping it up. And after the shaping, normally you have unfinished edges, so you have to come up and reclean them. After recleaning them, still you need to dry them, make sure they are dry completely so that they don't rot. At the end, you have to polish them to have them a good finishing. Gourds, take them through the same process. It's not much different from the seeds we've just seen. So with gourds, at the end of it, we add a layer. We use either paper mache or eggshells to put a layer, like the one I'm wearing. These are eggshells to protect them from rotting, and at the same time to give them a good finishing and to give them weight so that the product settles down very well. It needs a little bit of weight to settle on the form. In other words, you have to understand the form that you're working with and the structure. Artisan. I am a practicing artist. Artisan per se. I make crafts with a bias of jewelry. And my materials that I use are basically natural or recyclable materials, for one reason or another, as how we're going to look at it. These are some of the products that we are making. This is one of my students' product that she discovered a material, which is the maize cob, which she cuts in different shapes, polishes it, and makes different products. One of them is that necklace, student that I'm working with. This is gourd, decorated with metal. That is bamboo. That is gourd mixed with plastic. I work with mixed media in many of my products. I mix media. This is an explanation of how to use the different materials, and one of them is plastics, how I work with it. So those are plastic bottles and bottle crowns. That is how we work with it from the beginning of getting this material until the time we are ready to use it. Necklaces and earrings are the products that we are working with. This is a product made out of plastic bottle tops. Those are also plastic bottle tops. Those are also plastic bottle tops. Those are bottle crowns. But what we should take in mind is that when you go out to pick these materials, which we call waste materials, they should not be wasted. We go through different challenges in our working in the craft industry. One of them is machines. Appropriate machines to use is a big challenge. Then we have the natural environment. When we decide to work with the natural environment, these are basically things that we find in the environment. Seeds is one of them, but we have a challenge that they come seasonally. And when they come seasonally, sometimes you don't have enough labor to pick them and get them. Electricity is another challenge in terms of machines. When you can get a machine, still when you're to work with it, electricity is quite expensive since we work with the local people. There's some solutions to some of our challenges. With machines, we are trying to improvise, and I encourage a lot people to use the tools, the local tools that we have. If you want to cut, you can use a knife. If you want to scoop, you can make a tool that can scoop. So I teach them how to improvise in terms of tools. Thank you very, very much for listening to me and for giving me this opportunity. I'm hoping that we shall continue with the research and being involved and be part of it. Thank you very, very much.
My name is Speranza Nakuya Jita. I'm a lecturer and head of department at Kampala University, and I'm here to represent one of the local producers we have in Uganda, that is Musa body. These are local people. They've not gone to school, but at the same time they are participating in technology. Musa body, they deal in agro-processing machinery. As you can see, carpentry machinery, construction, food processing machinery. They are located in Katwe. They are located in Katwe, Entebbe Road, Kampala, and headed by Alhad Sebulime. I've indicated their contacts of what they do and their website. The business started as a family company where they used to make hoes, and then they went on developing. And how did this development start? It is believed that many farmers were facing challenges in the equipment, especially people who are dealing with on large scale production. They could import equipment from China and they use them in the processes of farming. So during those processes, you find that the machines could wear out quickly before they finish up with their farming procedures. So they were inspired to bring in their equipment to Musa Bode and see how they can solve some of their problems. Being the only local producer or the only local technology inspired producer, they decided to take up the problems of the farmers and use them as a source of inspiration to produce equipments. The first one is the Agro processing equipment. This one, which is mainly used for maize machinery for removing maize. And then they also produce the cassava slicer machine for slicing cassava, the grinding equipment for flour, equipment for cutting elephant grass, especially for animal farming. The pictures I'm presenting show some of the equipment they make during the processes of producing the equipment for the farmers. The maize machinery for removing husks, that is one of them. The second one is the machinery for removing seeds. Then they also make machinery for removing the husks, the maize husks. The cassava slicer, this cassava slicer, usually they help the farmers because usually farmers produce cassava flour, and instead of peeling the cassava, they helped the farmers by producing a slicer which can help them in the processes of cutting the cassava, and then which is finally dried and taken into the processes of producing cassava flour. Another equipment is the groundnut, which is used for removing the covers from the groundnuts. Then on the food processing machinery, they usually make machinery for producing maize flour, groundnut pastes, the rice maker, one of it, this one is used basically for producing flour. Then the second one is used for making groundnut paste. Materials used in the process of producing these equipments, they use metallic scraps, iron and steel. And this is done mainly by fabrication or melting the iron. Those are the two main procedures they use when they are making the equipments. SWOT analysis, strength. It is a source of income, it's a source of employment. Materials used to make the equipments are strong and long-lasting, high quality and unique products because they are made manually. Resource persons many universities have benefited from Musa body because the surrounding universities like Makerere University, Kampala University try to bring in their students to train them on how to make equipments, especially the industrial students during internship training. Many farmers have been helped to reproduce or to make for them equipment that can help them during the process of farming. The government of Uganda has also intervened in because they help them in producing the water pumps, fuel and truck bodies. Weaknesses, lack of materials because they have to make mass production. Secondly, materials like steel, metal are very expensive. Actually, they say buying them locally from the country, it is very expensive, so it is cheaper to import them. Then health risks, especially during the processes of cutting and melting the materials on fire, it is very risky, and sometimes they have not insured the workers because it's very expensive. Small capital, marketing the products is not easy, and they face a lot of competition within the local produce. I've already talked about Musa Bode. It is located in a slum area whereby most people don't believe that products that are coming from slum areas are very strong. They're with good equipment. So that is one of their major challenges. A lot of electricity is being used and it's very expensive. So sometimes production is very slow, especially when electricity is off, and it's usually off for around 2 to 3 days. Opportunities, products are made out of scrap, which has been thrown away, which leads to some of the materials cheap in terms of cost. Other related small-scale producers, those ones are located in Kisenyi. I won't talk about them, but they also make equipment for the kitchen, that is kettles, dustbins, charcoal stoves. Those ones are located in Kisenyi. I would like to thank Professor Mugumbya and Dr. Mark for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
As you offered this international community, we hope that the video has been able to describe enough for you to be able to appreciate the process, and in between also to see what the problem is. We are looking forward to what some of your ideas as far as solutions to this problem will be, and we look forward to our future cooperation. I'd like to thank you again for giving us all this opportunity. We decided to follow this approach so it is more participatory, and I would like to thank my colleagues who have been able to present together with me in this video. I thank you very much, and I wish you the best deliberations and outcomes out of this research workshop which we are having, and any future work that we may be doing together. God bless you very much, and thank you so much for everything you have done for us.